The Chicago Bears continue fleshing out their offensive line with their most recent re-signing. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, Mel Kiper has a new favorite on the draft board for the Chicago Bears. We're going to look into all that plus more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And Chicago Bears yesterday afternoon re-signed Doug Kramer to a one-year deal. Now, Doug Kramer is somebody who's been in the Bears organization for a while. Last year was kind of the most prominent that he's ever been since he's been with the Chicago Bears. And most of that season was with as being a fullback, right? Everybody remembers the fumble, unfortunately, that he made when the Bears tried to get creative and give him the ball on the goal line. But, unfortunately, that was not worked out. And hopefully now with this new staff that they see an actual vision of using Doug Kramer as an offensive lineman, right? He was a 6th-round pick in 2022. He came out of Illinois, right? Grew up in Hinsdale. So that's all fine and dandy, right? Now, he did see a lot of time playing fullback last year, but it really did not, it was a mixed bag, right? There were times where him as the fullback, Roschon Johnson as the halfback actually was a little creative there, right? But, overall, I hope that that with this re-signing, it's a sign that this new coaching staff wants to really evaluate Doug Kramer as an actual offensive lineman to see what he can bring there. He's still going to have to earn a spot, right? I still don't think that this is something that is an assurance that he's going to be on the final 53-man roster. But this is something that, at least they want to see him come into camp. They want to take a look to see what he can bring to this team and figure it out from there, right? And that's not a bad place to be in, right? Doug Kramer has some things, of course, that he absolutely needs to work on, learn from, and grow and things like that. And so we'll see. Clearly, the Bears have saw something in. Now, that was a old coaching staff, but I would like to think that as long as they've kept him around here, they made sure to sign him to an actual contract so somebody couldn't snipe him away from the practice squad, things like that. So, they've seen something in Doug Kramer, but, nothing's, like I said, an insurance anymore in the NFL, right? So we'll see what the future does hold for Kramer, but Kramer's now joining a offensive line that has seen tremendous upgrades from top to bottom, right? So it's a completely different situation that he's in. The standard and the question there is going to be, going to be higher. But of course, now you're looking at it and saying, well, could he maybe back up Drew Dahlman at center, right? Maybe that's something that they're looking at there, right? Ricky Stromberg, so another guy that's under contract here for the Chicago Bears. Ryan Bates still technically here under contract as well, right? We also got Theo Benedict as another guy that's going to be, not to say they've all played the same position, but another guy that's going to be kind of trying to prove himself and earning a roster spot here with the Chicago Bears in training camp. So we're seeing the training camp battles already start to take shape for the Bears with the way that they've done these signings. And we'll just see where it continues to go. But overall, Doug Kramer, one-year deal, no harm, no foul. We'll see if he actually can make the final 53. Like I said, there's no guarantee that he will, but, he's going to have a chance and an opportunity to earn that with the Chicago Bears, and we'll see what that does lead to, right? With that said, I want to talk about Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper, in his latest mock, has a new player there for the Chicago Bears. Now, this is the mock that's taking into consideration what the Chicago Bears did there in free agency, and he mentions this. I've gone offensive line for the Bears in both my previous mock drafts, but that box has been checked in free agency. Chicago traded for guards Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson. They signed center Drew Dahlman, and while the Bears also added Deo Odiengbo and Grady Jarrett on the defensive front, they could still use someone like Mikel Williams from Georgia coming off the edge. They ranked in the middle of the pack last season in sacks at 40, but were 24th in pass rush win rate at 36.5. Williams is a toolsy prospect who can beat blockers with the speed with speed or power. He missed time with an ankle injury last season, but still picked up 5 sacks, given a little more time to develop, he could be a really solid NFL edge rusher. Now, Mikel Williams is somebody that I did have on my list yesterday of kind of underrated potential first-round picks there for the Chicago Bears. And it's interesting now that Mel Kiper has the Bears going defensive line in his mock, right? Now, Mikel Williams, as said by Mel Kiper in that blurb I read, had 5 sacks last year, 2 forced fumbles as well, right? 15 solo tackles. He's 6'5", 265 pounds. And for those that know, linemen from Georgia, right? Like those type of players are like they're dogs, right? And so while last season, there's some, he did deal with some injuries there. He had 21 total tackles, 6 of those 6 assisted. We talked about the 2 forced fumbles. Like, this is a guy that really, I do think, could be a really good edge here for the Chicago Bears, right? And you look at how Dennis Allen kind of likes typically his defensive linemen, his edges. Mikel Williams kind of fit that mold, right? So I do think that more and more you're going to see some of these mocks and some of the experts come outside the box for the Chicago Bears. It's kind of the thought process between doing the episode that I did yesterday. It's kind of get ahead of that curve because there are definitely going to be some outside the box prospects for the Bears. And Mikel Williams checks off a lot of boxes of what the Bears need, right? And like I said, Dayo Odeyingbo, he's still somebody that I still see as a starter there, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't preclude you from bringing in competition there. Yes, he's a young veteran, right? Yes, you still have Austin Booker, you still have Daniel Hardy in the wings there as well, right? But the Bears are trying to shore up and make their trenches solid, right? Well, like I said on the video earlier this week, as far as building a scary defensive line, having a guy that has the win rate on pass rushes that Mikel Williams has, you got to see if that's going to translate to the NFL level. But this is a big body guy who I think if you can put him on the opposite side of Montez Sweat, you have the makings then of a really talented top to bottom defensive line, right? You got the young guy in Austin Booker. You have Mikel Williams at that point as well. Dayo, who can play on the outside or on the inside of that defensive line. We already know what Grady Jarrett, Javon Dexter, Andrew Billings all bring as well. Like, you're starting to see the building blocks start building there. And what happens? Dominique Robinson, I think at that point would probably definitely be a cut, right? You're probably looking at that. But I love Mikel Williams here for the Chicago Bears. I think he makes a whole lot of sense. We just got to see which route the Bears are going to decide to go with their draft pick. Like I've said many times now, that the Bears have set themselves up to go a bunch of different routes when it comes down to it, right? And we'll see, right? The Bears still got some things they still need to look at, right? And we still got some pretty solid needs here. When you look down at what's coming down the pipeline for the Chicago Bears. So the Bears have done pretty well. And so I think right now, when you look at the Bears' biggest need, right? Running back is still clearly one, because clearly for the Bears, right, regardless of how Bears fans look at it, I think running back is still something that the Bears are definitely looking at to address in the draft, right? I think that the writing's kind of on the wall there with that one. And that's not to say that DeAndre Swift has had a bad season. Like, it's so weird the way that DeAndre Swift's season's talked about, and not taking into consideration the fact that the offense wasn't good for a large part of the season. The offensive line was shaky, right? And DeAndre Swift is going to now have an opportunity under a much better offensive line, both in run and pass blocking, to see. But running back still is one that we definitely need to take, that the Bears are expected to take a look at. Edge rusher is still one as well, right? Because you want that pressure. We were middle of the pack as far as the sack number, but the pressure, we were at the bottom. We want to be able to bring consistent pressure. That helps your pass rush. That helps your linebackers. That helps you just be a more creative defense. Dennis Allen is going to want that thing solid from top to bottom. And if you can do that, we'll see, right? Montez Sweat in his first full season with the Bears as well, that production just wasn't there, right? 2023, 12.5 sacks between the Commanders and the Bears. 5.5 sacks over 16 games with the Bears last season. We want that production to go back up. To get that production back up, you need overall production on that defensive side of the ball, the defensive line, to help them, right? So, we look at it, right? There was a lot going on with Chicago last year, but you're definitely looking at Montez Sweat to have kind of a rebound year, especially under Dennis Allen, and the improvements we made on that defensive line. Safety is still a big need for the Bears, right? I know it's not talked about as much, but I think when you're looking at the 3 biggest needs for the Chicago Bears, safety is still up there, right? Jaquan Brisker just has not been healthy. Kevin Byard, a vet who, still only has 1 year left on their deal, right? if Jaquan Brisker takes a while to kind of get back in rhythm, we don't know that for sure. He missed 12 games in the 2024 season. That's the majority of the year that we did not have Jaquan Brisker, right? And then don't allow Kevin Byard, who played really good last season, to show any signs of aging at 33 years old. You're going to need an additional safety depth there. Now, we know we have Jonathan Owens, which is good depth. He's solid depth. But I think that you can start shaping up and getting your starter of the future, whether it's to pair with Jaquan Brisker or to replace Jaquan Brisker. Again, I think Jaquan Brisker is going to stay here. I hope he has a healthy season, but you can't take that for granted. You can't just assume that's what's going to happen here. And so because of that, like, the Bears do have to prepare for either scenario. And I think a safety in this draft helps the Bears prepare for that. So, again, to recap, the biggest needs for the Chicago Bears: running back, Ben Johnson. And that's not a knock on DeAndre Swift. Ben Johnson likes to have those dual threat running backs. He likes to have different looks there. And I think if Roschon Johnson had a more solid 2024, we probably wouldn't be talking about this. But Roschon's another player as well that's dealt with his fair share of injuries that they're going to have to look at, right? So because of that, running back really goes up there for the Chicago Bears. You look at the running backs that are in this draft, it makes sense to make that move this year. Outside of Ashton Jeanty, right, who somebody said in the comment section yesterday, it could only be Jeanty. No, there's other talented running backs. You got Travion Henderson. You got Caleb Johnson. You got Quasan Judkins, right? You got Devin Neal, Devin Martinez, right? Or Damian Martinez. You got a lot of running backs in this draft that make a whole lot of sense for you. Amarian Hampton would be a great one for the Chicago Bears if they don't draft Jeanty. But you see the way that his stock's rising, he's definitely going in that first round as well. So we'll see. The Bears do plan on attacking that running back position, and we'll see where they get it. Edge, like we said, to recap, and safety, right? But who you fill those positions with is as important as anything else. And I want to recap right now, right? Who the Bears, who are the most likely players to go to the Bears via mocks? Of course, Ashton Jeanty is right up top there, right? He's kind of the guy right now that is the most likely to go to the Chicago Bears if you're talking about the experts. Now, we know that the experts aren't always right. That's what it comes down to. But more and more are starting to mock Jeanty going to the Chicago Bears. I think what they've done this offseason has done nothing but to strengthen the rumors and the mumblings that Jeanty's going to be the guy here. And we'll see if that actually is the future for the Bears. But it is looking like Jeanty is a realistic pick here for the Chicago Bears. Then, of course, Will Campbell. Now, this is probably the perfect pick here for the Bears, right? Now, I know there's some doubt on what Campbell's position is going to be at the next level. Hell, there's some doubt of what he's going to do. You look at, he's commonly mocked to go anywhere between 4th to all the way to 13th, right? Depending on when you look at the wide range of the most respected mocks there. He's a guy that I, of course, would love for the Chicago Bears, right? You have Mason Graham, also the defensive tackle out of Michigan, who's mocked to go to the Chicago Bears some as well. I have highly doubts that he falls there to the Chicago. I do not think that there's any chance of Mason Graham falling to the Bears personally. Could absolutely be wrong on that. I just personally don't think that that's the case. And then, of course, the guy that's risen up a lot more here lately is Tyler Warren, right? And this is a guy that, because of his overall talent, because the fact that he is, again, a dog, what he brings to that tight end position, he's sure up that right for you as well. I think that Warren has a really good chance of falling here to 10, right, to the Chicago Bears. Jeanty, they got questions on if he's going to get past the Las Vegas Raiders there at number 6. You have Graham as well. That is he going to get past the Jaguars at number 5, right? And so if those things do happen, I think that you start going to some of those outside the box scenarios, right? If Jeanty goes to the Raiders at number 6, which, like I said, is a very real possibility here. If the Bears' focus is running back, right? And if they are willing to trade back for a Hampton, which if that even needs to be there, that would be an interesting scenario. But I just don't know if you can pass up on some of these trench guys, right? The defensive line guys, things like that. So, we'll see what the future does hold. But look at all of that. I think the evaluation that the Bears really do have as well is a big one here. So, we'll see what the future does hold. Another guy that as well that could be on the board there for the Chicago Bears, especially with what Dennis Allen needs to do as well, is do not overlook Will Johnson from Michigan as well there, right? Will Johnson, 6'2", 109 pounds, a really amazing athlete, has a really good knack for the ball, could be a ball hawk at the next level. He's drawn comparisons to J.C. Horn as well, right? So if you can get him with Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson, man, I tell you what, that's one of the most crazy trios in the game of football as well. Now, that determines on how the Bears do view Tyreek Stevenson. I do think that there's been this kind of understandably with his performance and how it fell out after the Hail Mary play last year, there's been some doubt on what Tyreek Stevenson's, what his role is going to be here for the Chicago Bears next year. But, we'll see how all that plays out, man. In the long term, we'll see how that plays out. But, yeah, still an exciting offseason. Still a lot of things left to be decided in this offseason as well, fellas and ladies, because we do have ladies watching the show as well. And still exciting time period, man. We'll see what the Chicago Bears do have planned. Let me know what you guys think on all of it down below. Make sure you guys are following us at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.